Hello everybody, welcome to the channel of MediaMark Weather. It's great to have you on here with me. We are still talking about the tropics here. Most importantly, Hurricane Rafael. It was a major hurricane as it made landfall in Cuba. It's now down to a Category 2, but it's going to hold its own. And where is this storm going to go? There's so many divergent models here. This is special Hurricane Rafael coverage. Let's get into it. Taking a look at our infrared satellite three-dimensional view of Hurricane Rafael. Rafael was a Category 3 as it made landfall and crossed over in Cuba. It is now a 2, still a very formidable hurricane. You can see very powerful thunderstorms around the center of circulation, even some outer bands reaching parts of the Keys here. But look at this. It's still got its circulation intact here, and it is emerging into the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to hold its own the next couple of days. So we're going to start off with the HWRF model. First, I'm going to show you the simulated satellite. A lot of you liked this in previous videos. So let's just put this a little bit into motion here. You can see it's right near Havana here, west of Havana, actually. It was a Category 3. It's weakened down to a Category 2. And you see this model goes a little bit to the north of guidance, still maintaining its own through 7 a.m. on Thursday here, the 7th. You can see that eye, still well-defined here as it heads westward. I expect this to stay a Category 2 for the next couple of days. We're heading into November 8th here at 1 a.m. Now, it starts to develop some trouble here as we get into the Central Gulf. It still looks like a good ball of convection, but it is starting to lose its eye here. This is where it could start to get some wind shear and some dry air coming in from the west here. Now, let's continue to put this into motion. Yeah, there it is. Having a major problem. You can see by the 10th on our hurricane model, the low-level circulation is over here, whereas a lot of the thunderstorms are still over here to the east. That's all that dry air, and there will be some vertical wind shear moving over the system as well. Now, let's see where the HWRF model makes a potential landfall, and then I'll get into the European and the GFS here momentarily. There it is, heading right towards the east coast of Mexico. But look at this. By this time, it's extremely weak. Now, let's take a look at your system here over the pressure, the isobars. You can see, yeah, it's a very formidable hurricane, continues to be a very strong hurricane through Friday here. Here it is bending westward around that subtropical high as it builds into the northeastern part of the Gulf here, and then heading westward here towards November 9th into the 10th. There it is, heading towards Mexico. Now, here in our European run, let's just back this up a little bit. You can see we have a couple areas of concern here. Obviously, it's pretty much the same as the hurricane model here, heading right up to just about this area. We have this big ridge of high pressure. There's going to be another ridge as this system kicks out of the picture. Now, look what's going to happen here on the European run. This latest run has it bending a little bit more west-southwest of even the hurricane model and guidance here. So it may start to brush the Yucatan Peninsula here. So those of you in the Yucatan, Cancun, Merida, these areas might want to keep a close watch on this. This is so strange that we're having such divergence on our models when we're literally only a couple days out. So the Europeans taking it down this way towards the Bay of Campeche, whereas the GFS, which I'll show you momentarily, it's going to take a more turn towards the right. And if we just continue just a little bit here, right into the Bay of Campeche, and then heading right into, there we go, Tampico, Mexico area, right around November 12th. So that system would keep it over Mexico, and look at that. Yeah, this would be a massive surge of not only tropical moisture from Rafael here, but also the more Pacific side moisture heading on into, it would help spin this up and bring moisture here into Central America. Now we're looking at the GFS here. Yeah, this model is a bit different than the rest of them here. As we start out with our latest run, yeah, keeping it a Category 2 as we go through Thursday and Friday here. Now it gets to this location just north of Cancun. Here's Cancun right here. Here's the northern Yucatan Peninsula. So this is where we're going with this. You can start to see that there is a little bit of a disturbance up here. Here's the next really big trough. Now, what the GFS continues to do here is start to round the bend right around the base of this trough, which is much faster here on the GFS. And then as you can see, it starts to turn it more northerly here. So that's why we can't get rid of this right turn on our maps here just yet, because it turns it towards southeastern Louisiana and then eventually even more eastward towards the Panhandle of Florida. Unfortunately, this version of the GFS kicks this trough out so quickly that it leaves this system kind of stuck hanging out here into the Gulf. So all of these solutions have this storm just spinning around and around and around, so to speak. At least the GFS weakens it as it heads towards the Yucatan Peninsula, and this would be right around November 14th. I have plenty more Hurricane Rafael and the rest of your tropics coverage here. Before we continue, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Let's continue. So taking a look at the intensity forecast of Rafael, it's already peaked. It was a Category 3. It's down to a 2 now, and it's going to continue to slowly weaken. The next couple days, it will maintain Category 2 strength, but it will become a Category 1 by the weekend, and then rapidly dropping off into tropical storm status as we head on into early next week. Looking at the energy, the upper level vorticity here, there is that big high pressure just anchored off the southeast coast. That's going to build southwestward on the European model here. That's what brings us that west-southwest turn as this high pressure builds over top of it and pushes it to the southwest here. Now watch what happens. There's no troughs here on the European model to kick this thing to the north towards the Gulf Coast. Hence, that high pressure actually builds westward, pushing the storm into the east coast of Mexico. If we take a look at our GFS here, the upper level vorticity, yeah, that high pressure, curiously, is actually still here. Look at this. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is it's a more shallow, more narrow high pressure because you have this trough really kicking to the east instead of to the northeast like on the Euro. Look at how this trough just captures this system and pulls it up into the central and northeastern Gulf Coast region. And I want to thank Tropical Tidbits here for our mid-layer dry air and moist air analysis. You can see there is Rafael, a hurricane, was a major hurricane earlier, now is down to a Category 2, still strong. As it continues overnight into early Thursday morning, it will continue to maintain that hurricane strength into Friday morning as well. You can see rising through the 970s into the 980 millibar range. Still pretty formidable here at 985 millibars for this time of year, later Saturday. So we get into the weekend here. And look at this, though. This is where the problem starts. This dry air is going to get on the western side of the system. Now, of course, the GFS wanting to take this on a more hard right turn right up into the Gulf Coast area. Look at this. This would allow, a lot of tropical moisture to make it up here into parts of the southeast. So depending on where you are, it may be beneficial or it might add insult to injury. But look at this. This is definitely becoming extra tropical. We're holding on by a thread here, so to speak, heading on into November 11th, into the 12th. And look at this. The dry air just overtakes this as we head on into the middle part of the month. But look at this. Across the Caribbean, we're surging that tropical moisture. There's that potential storm. It squelched it further to the south on this model run into Nicaragua and Costa Rica. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But look at this. By Tuesday, November 19th, look what's coming up on the west side of this high. Another surge of tropical moisture, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. And look at that, another big tropical wave blasting into Trinidad, Tobago, the southern Lesser Antilles. But there is some hope here. By November 22nd, look at this dry air intruding into the central and eastern Caribbean. Now heading on into the European model, showing a very similar situation through Thursday. But then Friday, look at this. This is where things start to diverge. European wants to take this west-southwest, maybe brushing the northern coast to the Yucatan. Of course, the GFS does a hard right turn here. So it's so crazy to think that we're talking about two diverging solutions here. And look at this. The European strengthened this back into a potentially major hurricane here, like 960 millibars. That is kind of crazy into Saturday until we start to get into some dry air. So the European keeps this stronger and further to the south and to the west. And look at this. We continue in time. It may be a hurricane, maybe at landfall here in the eastern Mexican coastline if this holds together and this trend, this track holds true. But look at this. As we head towards the middle of the month, there's a lot of dry air sinking south on the European model from the Gulf all the way down into the Caribbean here. So for the GFS wind shear, here it is. GFS doesn't have wind shear getting in on this system until later Friday into Saturday. Of course, it does that hard right turn. It is going to head into that wind shear, and obviously that would have a big impact on dropping the intensity of the system even quicker as we go out here in time. As look at this. Yeah, as we head through, I wanted to show you this, the middle of the month. Look at the wind shear that really ensues across the northern Caribbean here. So this may be, a sigh of relief, but there is pockets of time periods here, November 20th, where the Caribbean gets little to no wind shear. So I don't think we're done with tropical season come the middle of the month. I think we're still going to see some tropical systems through the end of November, potentially into the beginning of December. If we take a look at the Europeans run here, yeah, this is why it stays stronger longer. Look where the highest area, the axis of wind shear is. It's up along the Gulf Coast. So this scenario would keep this storm pretty much a hurricane across the entire Gulf of Mexico here. So that's something we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. So tropical moisture here on our European run, there's indirect tropical moisture obviously associated with this first disturbance up over Georgia and South Carolina, a little bit into North Carolina and the Panhandle of Florida. But, you're looking at 2 to 4, maybe as much as 3 to 5 inches in some of these locations. This is not the European making landfall on the Gulf Coast. This is just some tropical moisture that surges to the northeast here. And if we take a look at the GFS run here with the tropical moisture, there is that initial shot, just like there is on the European one with that disturbance, bringing some of that moisture from the southeast here and southwest. But look at this. Yeah. A landfalling storm or close call would bring some very surging tropical moisture up and through parts of the Panhandle of Florida, maybe southeastern Louisiana, and coastal parts of Alabama and Mississippi. If this were to pan out, we could be looking at anywhere from about 3 to as much as 8 inches of rain. As we get down into the Caribbean here, there's the rainfall with Rafael. So Hurricane Rafael is going to continue to cause some torrential rain. Thankfully, most of it looks like it's actually going to be off the coastlines here, although we still could get clipped in northern Yucatan here. Most areas staying right around 60 to 90 millimeters here, nothing more than 1.5 inches to maybe 3 inches. But if you notice something later on in the forecast period here, as we get towards the middle of the month, look what's happening across Central America. That's what that surge of tropical moisture that we're going to be watching, that potential storm taking effect, 100 to maybe as much as 175 millimeters of rainfall. We're looking at 3.5 to as much as 7 inches of rain. I want to take you over to Jamaica, the Cayman Islands here. Yeah, you'll see some more rain here. It's not going to be the rain you saw the last couple days or even the last couple weeks. You'll see an additional 30 to maybe 60 millimeters in some of these locations. Nothing more than, say, another 1/2 to 3/4, maybe 1 inch of rainfall. As we get into the Eastern Caribbean here through the Eastern Bahamas, yeah, this next storm, this tropical wave that we'll be looking at, it is going to be a big rain producer here across the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Northern and Lesser Antilles. Would not be surprised to get 100 to as much as 150 millimeters of rain here. That's going to get you up towards 3.5 to as much as 6.5 inches of rain, locally higher. And look at that next wave towards the middle of the month, moving down towards Trinidad, Tobago, getting up towards 100, 125 millimeters of rainfall. That'll get you up towards 3.5 to as much as 5 inches of rain. If we want to go through the rest of the tropics, our other trouble area is out here through the Caribbean islands and the Eastern Bahamas during the next several days. You can see we do have an area of disturbed weather that's going to be continuing to move through the northern Lesser Antilles here, the Virgin Islands. And we can follow that storm here, the 8th. You can see it's moving some showers and thunder showers through Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. So watch out for some gusty showers and heavy rains here. And that heads to the westward here towards the Turks and Caicos here, the 9th. And then as we head on into the 10th and 11th, you can see it kind of stalls out here, and we get a very elongated, broad area of low pressure continuing, and that's going to spin showers westward towards the southern coast of Florida here, South Florida. But look at this. I just want to zoom out for a bit. Look at this intertropical converted zone. This does not look like early to mid-November. Look at this. This is a lot of moisture just piling up here. And as we continue to go out here in time, yeah, it's only going to surge. There's some big tropical wave action here. There's a big one as well. And look at through Central America here. We're just looking at tremendous tropical moisture. So with these high sea surface temperature content, you know, you just got to hold on to the fact that we may still see some more storms here. The one encouraging thing is, look at these troughs. They are getting into the northern Caribbean islands, but look at this big wave right out here as we enter November 16th. And one thing I wanted to show you quick here on the European model, this is a massive trough. Look at this. It's clearing out the Gulf of Mexico after Rafael would make landfall on this model. And look at this. This actually makes it to the U.S. East Coast. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Look at that. Some rain. We'll have to see if that holds true. Not quite buying it at this point, but this looks like a pretty big trough that could be scouring out the Gulf here. All right, so on our GFS here, the rest of your tropics, let's see what's going on. Let's see how it handles our system here north of the Caribbean islands. So let's give you some perspective here. We won't zoom in too far. You can see as it heads westward towards the 8th, pretty much in the same location as the European model, kind of washing it out there across the Bahamas. So does it really have much of a chance to develop? It looks like on the GFS, it kind of splits its moisture between two areas here. So, I mean, it's not an impressive system, but we got a couple days to watch it here. And then as we continue in time, let's see if the GFS is still holding on to that crazy hurricane come the middle to latter part of the month. So here is a system. It's kind of brought it much further south here towards, this is interesting, Costa Rica and Nicaragua here. Let's just back this up. It's another disturbance that comes out of Colombia in northwestern South America here. This is right around the 13th, the 14th, into the 15th. It spins up a hurricane that makes landfall near the Costa Rica, Nicaraguan area here. So, yeah, it's a little less of menacing here for much of the Caribbean. What we were showing the other day was a major hurricane here across the central and western Caribbean. So it's kind of lost that for the moment, thankfully. But we do have another big tropical wave we're going to be watching as well as it enters the Lesser Antilles area. Trinidad, Tobago, some heavy rains, gusty winds come the third week of November there. Look at that. Yeah, you're going to be socked in with lots of moisture. Don't be too surprised, too, if one of these actually tries to develop. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MediaMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
Thank you everybody for joining me this special coverage of Hurricane Rafael. I hope to have the rest of your weather forecast as we progress throughout the week, and Rafael will start to weaken, but I have a feeling Rafael's going to throw some curveballs at us, so I will be here updating you on Rafael and hope to get my winter weather outlook out very shortly. I know I put that on hold for a little bit, but the tropics have been really crazy as of late. Don't forget, MediaMark.com, Facebook MediaMark, Weather Northeastern, and also Hurricane Northeastern. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Hit that like button, question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe bell notification button, everyone.